Trend analysis. Short but sweet this. It's basically a process of investigating change over time and allows us, when we look at the past and assess trend, we can make a prediction about the future. They're both best shown in graphs or charts or, a sequence of line. It's also known as financial modelling. Two examples for you are there down the bottom. Now, trend analysis, and these are your points. This is what you need to get down into your notes. It's potential sales, total revenue, total operating costs, gross and net profits, or availability of labour. So in understanding those, we can forecast around what we need to do and make plans around the business and the trend about responding to increases, decreases, or adjusting to make, stop the flow of difficulties. So that is why we need it. We need forecasting or trend analysis within a business so we can be better prepared. Now, to give you an example, here we show Austrac Logistics, and it shows that their net profits are going up, if you have here, 62 to 78, 85 to 90. All right, and here this is the same graph over that same period of time. So we can say net profits over this time is increasing. However, it's increasing at a decreasing rate. Do we say that? So it's increasing. There's a large jump there, but it's increasing at a decreasing rate. So when we see this in a trend analysis in the line graph, you'll see there's rapid growth through here, and then it sort of begins to plateau. It's in trend analysis that this business would be able to work out that their net profit is decreasing despite increasing overall, and therefore they'd need to make adjustments to their expenses to ensure that their net profit still grows. Now, identifying, sustaining competitive advantage. We're back to here. Do you remember these? There's two general strategies: price cost and differentiation. Price cost has these four metrics: improving efficiency, low cost labour, economies of scale, and utilising technology, whereas differentiation goes through quality, innovation, and branding. All right, so notice we have, this is the expensive, this is your Ferrari, Louis Vuitton, brands that charge a high price but promote these three. On the other side, you've got they're not going to say, it doesn't mean the product's not quality, it just means that they're going for a low cost and they're trying to squeeze both angles. Yes, they deliver a low price to customers to try and entice them to buy it, but at the other end, they're constantly trying to trim their expenses to ensure this. Think of airline companies: Qantas, all right, Tiger Airways. They're your key examples. Now, those are the four main ways. So just in terms of your notes, this is probably what you want to be structuring it. To give an example, you could use the Qantas and Tiger Airways example, or Virgin Airways as example, because that's one of the ones that I'm using here. But what I'd encourage you to do is set this out in your notes in this type manner, so that you have the price cost in these 4 points. It might be that you're referring back to it, or it's a relevance to what you did in your business plan. We then have obviously the example of this as being a price cost, Tiger Airways, and essentially some of the problems that come associated with it. If you're seen as a price cost, you're constantly in a fight with your employees around expenses and with the market regarding your price, because you're viewed as a cheaper, more effective method, but people become more, distinct and demanding around the prices that you offer and the refunds that they get. Now, the differentiation, it's think of these: Mercedes, high quality products, innovative designs. And might be Toyota used to view it as a price cost, but it is innovative in some of their products. They have a positive brand image, and they offer top quality service. So some of you in your business plan these are the examples. So I don't expect you to get these definitions around, but as long as you're aware that these are the four key factors around how they do it, they're important for your notes. It ensures long-term success because a competitive advantage, this is very important for your notes. So long-term success is only if you sustain your competitive advantage, okay? Now, you can restrict the actions of others who introduce new strategies. For example, Qantas use research and development, patents and copyrights, have exclusive contracts, and lobby government. Those are your defensive mechanisms to make sure that you have your competitive advantage for a long period of time. That doesn't mean that price cost businesses can't use R&D, patents and copyrights for exclusive contracts and lobby government, on both businesses that use both strategies. But to ensure long-term success, you need to maintain your competitive advantage, and that is only achieved through using these four: R&D, patents, copyrights, and exclusive contracts and lobbying of government. Now, there's two factors here: finance and other resources. I'll touch on finance. Now, bring it all up. Overextension of finance generally happens by using of equipment, getting cars, office supplies, a premise, a plant, a machinery. All this is very expensive for your businesses. You all know this because in marking the finance section of your exams, it's demonstrated quite quickly how much that $50,000 doesn't go very far in establishing a premise. Some of you also have the issue of buying too much stock from the get-go, or not being realization of the fact that if your business grows rapidly, that your stock cost needed to go up accordingly as well, or you employ too many people off the bat. The problem is that all these expenses are fixed. Now, a simple strategy for around this is the notion of leasing instead of buying. I know it says leasing commitments up here. However, companies might buy this car, the equipment, the machinery, buy the premise, buy the plant, or your office supplies, which a lot of you are doing in your businesses. Leasing or sale and leaseback are very effective because it means you spread out your cash flow. We've all done the cash flow activity, and we all saw the business that had the huge expense in 1 week of the year and what that did for the cash flow of the business. Think about that operations and spreading it out over all the months. It would just mean that your business has a little bit more time of survival or better use of its cash flow. You can avoid financially overextended by business planning, avoiding the use of debt completely, so relying on owner's equity. Have a long-term financial plan. That means spreading out of your cash flow, not buying additional machinery or members of staff until you really need, or starting small, which a lot of your businesses were doing. So I commend you on your assessment task in that nature. Now, there's actually what they separate this in terms of overextension of resources, and they come back to resources and stock. Now, the strategies to fix these were stock management systems, or what's referred to as JIT, or just in time. It's important to get this definition down in your notes for JIT. The other one they use is outsourcing. So it might be that you have the need for more staff. For example, if you're running a bar and it's a sporting event that night, being the state of origin, you're going to outsource the additional 30, 40, 50, hundreds of workers that you need, but then just afterwards you obviously don't have them from a long-term perspective. You can redefine job descriptions for staff so that you get more potential out of them. Hypothetically, Mr. Hogan could teach economics, business studies, commerce, geography and history, because that would mean that they're getting more out of the resource. Or you use more equipment and machinery, which means you don't use staff, but you hire machinery for a day or 2 days. My two brother-in-laws who run the brewery hire labelling machines for days, 2 days at a time, because it's more cost effective than buying them for a couple of $100,000. The same thing with stock management. They use what's called JIT, or just in time, meaning that you don't use or request the product from your supplier until you absolutely need it. Think of your car service place. You drive up, you need 4 new tyres. They're not going to have 4 new tyres there on stock just sitting there as money that's already spent. They then make a phone call that morning saying, I need these 4 tyres, and the tyres are delivered that afternoon to go onto the car. That's referred to just in time. A key example here is Aldi, that use it in the management of their stock. So stock is very expensive. Think of Bunnings with huge amounts of shovels, plastic, or all this outdoor furniture and light globes and paint and everything on stock. It's a huge outlay for them, and it just sits there as money spent on their, stock floor, and they've got a warehouse backups. So whereas Aldi uses minimal warehousing space, because essentially the stock that they're buying, being the water bottles in this picture here, comes straight from the supplier, straight to warehouse for just splitting up into the various trucks where it goes back out. So it's basically almost going straight from supplier to your retail floor is kind of what they're doing through it. So therefore they need limited shelf space. Using technology. this is where you're going to do a little bit of heavy lifting, gentlemen. I'd like you to get technology available to a business. You're going to copy out figure 13.7 into your notes, and then state 4 of the advantages and disadvantages from below in terms of using technology. Using technology is pretty self-explanatory. We then split it into e-business and e-commerce. The two are different. They're two different type perspectives. Please copy out figure 13.8. It'll be important for you to have a definition of e-business and e-commerce and understand or be able to distinguish one from the other in your notes. Pretty self-explanatory, gentlemen, but I will be testing you in class on it. Now, last one is economic conditions, in which case we're back to this graph all the way from chunk 4, topic 1. So essentially, we know what this graph does. We know what a peak is, we know what a trough is, we know what recovery and recession and peak is. I'd be interested to hear class opinion on what position they actually currently think we're in. Maybe some of the economics students that have an insight there. What conditions lead to success? All right, and what conditions lead to failure? This is pretty self-explanatory, gentlemen. The most important thing for your notes is maybe copying this table again, or if you've already got it in your notes and you're comfortable with your understanding, then maybe not, but being aware of and being able to articulate in your notes what are the conditions that lead to success, which is pretty obviously peak and recovery, these two here, and then conditions that lead to failure, being recession and trough. All right, that is it for chunk 4, gentlemen. So please make sure that this task is done and up to date in your notes. This last one here is the falling Aussie dollar, or a case study. Obviously, when the dollar falls, people buy more of Australia's natural resources. That's quite obvious. So this is actually one of the articles that I've attached to for one of your activities. So if you're interested in terms of what the impact of the falling Australian dollar is for us, please, by all means, read this article and add it to your notes.